Hey Sanjay, good to be talking again. Uh, I think it will be good if we can get to know you more as an individual, as a person, as a leader, before we get to know Spine.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Amit. Thanks, Vish. And hi, everyone. So good to be talking Sunday morning to all of you. So yeah, I'm a tech and product professional. So graduated long back from IIT Kharagpur in 2005, and since then I've been part of several startups in India. Most notably, these are in the fashion space called Fashion and You. Then Yatra.com, quite a long time. OYO, I worked as a VP product and engineering sometime in Amazon. So I've seen like this entire vendor world very closely in the e-commerce space, especially like and been part of several teams which solved cataloging for these companies in the real estate space, in fashion space, all these spaces. So that was the core genesis of the idea that this entire the sellers that network that you see around these sellers uh, I mean are selling their products, right? So physically they can show the product using touch and feel, but when they show the products online, then it is the images and the pricing or the reviews that do the job, right? So if the images are good, these products have multiple times better conversion rates. If the images are bad, then it is anyone's guess, right? So that's where a lot of the big companies, Myntra, I mean the equivalents of in Airbnb, Swiggy, all of these companies engage like professional photographers for getting their top top sellers photography done, right? But majority of sellers cannot afford this kind of agency led photography process because a it is very expensive to it is not available as well, right? So if you go to tier 2 tier 3 cities, you will not be able to access them, and also very time consuming, right? The entire process can take anything between like 3 to 14 days for shooting, procuring the goods to getting them edited and published. So all of these were the problems. But one of the good parts of this particular industry was that most of these category photography was very much rule driven. If it is a photo shoot for fashion, these many angles have to be taken. For cars, these kind of angles have to be taken, right? Similarly, food and so on. So most of these agencies have coded, or the marketplaces have coded how these categories have to be shot. So me being the technology guy behind it, product and technology guy behind it, and the evolution of computer vision in the last 4 5 years basically paved the way to convert some of these guidelines into a technology that can enable millions of sellers on the ground to shoot like a professional photographer, right? And then produce images in a good looking surroundings, right? So basically using Gen AI to produce good looking image from that perfect shot that the user has taken, and then publishing because it is all API connected. So that was the genesis. We started with multiple categories. I mean, starting from e-commerce, real estate. So I've been part of these industries, automotive. So picked up some of these companies as projects and started building the post-production layer behind the scenes. And gradually, in the next 2 to 3 years of our evolution, 2 years of our evolution, we zeroed upon on the automotive as a segment, massive segment. Used cars, every used car has to be photographed, right? And if you see US, so India is not like a very online digital market, but if you see US, there are uh,
Sanjay, sorry to interrupt you. You're getting into the details. You
okay.
already have a slide deck. Why don't we go through that and that'll be maybe helpful?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'll do that and then probably wrap it up in 12 minutes,
Yeah,
10
yeah,
minutes.
yeah, yeah. So that we use the slide deck as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let me just share my screen. So yeah, so we talked about some part of that all of these professional photography basically is very expensive, and we are solving it in a DIY fashion, right? So this is the team and traction. So we are as of now we are basically clocking about 1.8 million in revenue, very high margin business. So because it is all tech driven, right? So 85 plus percent margin. In June 22, we were at about 200K. So since last 16 18 months, we have grown almost 9x, right? And we are adding roughly 200 to 300K revenue every month right now, new revenue every month. So the target is to get to about 3 million by March to April timeframe. We started expanding our US market. So, I mean, already added about 166 odd accounts, half of which is from US alone, backed by some of the premium global investors, Axel, Storm, and all. have very big client space as well. Like Swiggy, we are the default. I mean, most of the photos that you see on Swiggy are done using our camera SDK, right? So Swiggy, Walmart, Penske, Cars24, Card Deco, some of these accounts basically use us as default. In terms of team, me and Deepti are the co-founders. Deepti looks at brand marketing. I look after product sales and AI in general. Then we have Ankit and Karthik who lead the e-commerce, who lead the automotive and e-commerce business as a whole. And then we have the other functional leaders in the team, right? So pretty much like 85 members team, out of which distribution is roughly 45 to 50 in product tech engineering design and remaining in business and GTM, right? So this is the overall market that we are chasing right now. So we zeroed upon automotive as a use case, fundamental use case, and market is like pretty vast. If you see US has roughly 70,000 dealerships operating, and all of these dealers are digital. Like the basic discovery of used cars in the US happens through online blocking, like online discovery. So someone wants to buy a BMW, they will go and search for BMW within their vicinity, and they'll see a lot of dealerships websites, right? And then they discover it. So these dealerships together list about 75 to 80 million used cars every year, out of which 40 million used cars get sold. So that's the data that you'll find online. And we are able to extract about 10 to $12 per car right now. So that basically translates to a huge market in the US and Europe. Europe is also similar market, equivalent to the US. And there are companies in the US which are building several layers of softwares for automotive industry. We are actually attacking merchandising and marketing, but companies like Cox Auto and CDK Global, these companies have created all layers of software that digital dealers usually use. And these are like massive companies have built, for the context, Automotive works with 37,000 dealers and operate at about $22 billion revenue right now. So every segment they serve softwares to, right? So this is the basic context. If you see, zooming in US market, 72,000 dealerships, sorry, out of which you see one of our direct competitors is Impel, which work with about 7,000 plus dealerships, roughly similar kind of product, but pre-AI product. So we use AI a lot, which enhances the image significantly. But they work with 7,000 dealers and are operating at about 70-80 million odd ARR right now. They raised about 100 million few months back in early January 23. And Cox Auto, of course, is extremely large company. We are also we started our GTM just about a year back, January 23 in the US, and since then the growth has been like pretty good in the US. So we of course did some experiments of hiring people there, which added to the burn, but we reduced some of these things. Now we have found a smooth engine which is ramping up our US sales right now. So this is about the breaking down of the opportunity. If you see, one average car in the US gets sold at about 25 to $30,000. And this is a high priced inventory. So the dealers actually have a motive of selling it as fast as possible because they incur interest the more time that car is within their inventory, right? This is one. And the more time the car is in the inventory, the customers basically do not trust that car. There is something should be wrong in that car. So that car's selling chances become like bleaker and bleaker the longer that car stays. So the dealers actually spend a lot in cataloging of the car. And typically they spend about 30 to $50 by calling photographers and setting on like all these things to shoot a car. So potentially we are seeing that we'll be able to extract about 25 to $30 per car. Right now, the product lines that we have created can extract about 8 to $12 per car. Right. But there's a good headway that we have in terms of like product building over the time as well. So we talked about it, like this is DIY, bad photos, doesn't sell. This is like professional photo, but very expensive and time consuming. We have created a technology that basically mimics the application and then edit the images on it on its own and then finally publishes that. So you shoot the cards outside and we'll give you something like this, which is a much better CTR and I mean significantly lower cost. These are the two products that we have created, image merchandising and 360, which are available in the form of dev APIs, camera SDK, independent web application, mobile application, and the central management dashboard. So it is all like Gen AI and computer vision models applied to image enhancement, right? But yeah, let me quickly take you through with the one quick product demo before I move ahead. It'll hardly take like few seconds. for me to show. So if you go to our portal, you'll find a lot of, let's say one sample car I pick, this one. And you see, this is how the car is shot in the garage or the place. I'll just try to use one of the backdrops and see how this car can be transformed. You see, this was the car, and this is how it got transformed into. So pretty much like very, very clear studio output that we generate automatically. And many companies, like if you see Cars 24, their majority of catalog is not shot like this. How they are shot is in the field, they are being shot like this using a HDK, right? But these cars basically get translated to, and all of it is real time, right? So the thousands of dealers or the staff on the ground basically shoot the car using a HDK like these, and these cards get translated to this. So very easy process through which this kind of catalog is generated. So earlier, before Spyne, what they were doing is they were using, and a lot of companies like Spinny and others actually use these kind of turntable setups to shoot their photos, which is very expensive. 30,000 to 40,000 it usually takes to set up one such location. So we have completely eliminated the need of setting up this particular studio. You can shoot the car outside like this. Like this, you can shoot the car outside, and we'll be able to produce the same 360 view using the AI like this. Right? So completely eliminated the need of these expensive studios, which a lot of companies basically set up. But the companies which have like access to money, big money. So the same car that we saw can also be transformed into a showroom. And these showrooms are entirely customizable. So big OEMs basically can ask for, hey, can you just recreate my showroom, my dealership, right? So we do that as well. And hundreds of used car that is shot outside can be translated there. So this is the basic product. Let me go back here now. So so now, overall, we want to capture the merchandising stack of the dealers entirely, right? Which would mean that producing all kinds of assets, which is image, 360 video. Over the time, we also want to get into image-based automated dent damage detection, and then also ascertaining the value of the car based on a dent profile of that car, right? So this application has massive use cases in insurance, in rental cars, in servicing industry. So this all like underlying technology remains the same. So we are looking to build the image based asset products over the time, next maybe 2 3 years, which will just go build like excellent product. And over the time we want to solve the entire ecosystem. So the Shopify kind of ecosystem where we go content first, right? So and most of these products that you see, we sell image merchandising at roughly $4 to $6 per car. This again $4 to $6 per car. This about $3 to $4. This product has roughly $8 to $10 potential for the cars, right? So if you just add these 4 5 products, it translates to about $25 to $30 anyways. So that's what the goal is over the next few years to do it. We sell to dealerships, marketplaces, OEMs, and DMSs in the US right now. And I mean, large number of dealerships, so the market headway is pretty strong for us. This is how we have been growing in the past, let's say from June 22 to October 23, from 200K to 1.3 million in October. Now we are clocking just about like 1.6 million in auto. In October, we added 29 new accounts with an average ARR of $11,000. We added roughly 200K new ARR, and we are clocking this velocity right now. We collect most of the payments in prepaid, 3 months prepaid. So the payment collection is also like pretty healthy, cash flow based business, and CAC payback period is also very good. I'll explain why. So 3.5 months is like one of the industry standards, right? So most of the good SaaS companies operate between 6 to 12 months CAC payback period. We are operating at 3.5 months, which the investors are saying we can also invest something and grow even faster than what we are growing right now. This is this is this is the US growth where we started early 23, and we have grown to about 720K as of now. in revenue. So I mean, now last 8 to 9 months, we just build like 1 million worth of business in the US alone out of the overall. And the current accounts itself can expand to further 500,000. So 76 odd accounts already. This is like October data. So we further added. And this is how we are getting accounts. So we have created our own very strong inbound engine where our pages are active on Google. So car photo shoot, car background removal. So you'll find Spyne on top of these Google searches, which are very relevant searches. So we have been getting like inbound leads a lot, and these leads are increasing. So you see, in October we got about 239 leads. We converted 53 demos, out of which 17 accounts were onboarded, and that they gave us 137K in new revenue. Similarly, we are building our outbound channel where we have mapped 72,000 dealers, and and gradually we are building it up. So this is like entirely people constrained business. So the more SDRs and AEs we add to the team and more processes we build, the more it will scale, because the depth is very high. 70,000 dealers. The target is to get to like 5,000 in the next few years. So these are all some standard SaaS metric. If you see, AR to CAC is very healthy. So we are operating at about 4.3 right now. If you calculate LTV to CAC, it will be like even much better, right? So CAC payback period is also one of the, I mean, standards, very good number in the industry. So this is how about the customer success front, where initially there were issues related to onboarding. So two things we did. We basically did a lot of integrations in the US. So roughly all the major players of website providers and inventory, we did like 8 to 10 integrations. So we cover now 70-80% of the US dealers market in terms of like integration needs. And second is we started collecting 3 months payment in advance. We saw that if we collect only monthly payments, then first month is the period when the most friction is there. Like you need to streamline that account. So first 15-20 days, customers remain slightly finicky for trying out a new product, even if they have paid. But when we started like rolling out this 3 months payment collection, we saw that the churn completely gone under control of ours. Right. So this is about cash collection, very healthy. So this month we are looking to collect about 1.2 to 3 crore in collection. We already at about 45 lakh. Uh, these are some of the largest accounts which have grown tremendously. So from 40K at the time of start, this account, Autopic's Norwegian account, has grown to roughly 180K now. And Dealer Vision also has grown Carvo. So roughly we have 6 to 7 accounts which are in a 50 to 150K ACV range, and remaining at about like 10 to 30K range. So 80-20 distribution, this is how we have in terms of accounts count. So we talked about integration, so this is fine. So yeah, this is what the US logos, right? So a few months back, we hardly had one or two. Now we had like 60, 70 plus logos here. 6 months down the line, we might have here 300 plus logos in the US alone at the current rate of adding like 30 to 40 new dealers on a platform. So the goal is to get to by March 24. There are two goals. One is short term, extremely short term goal, which is like March 24. Where do we want to be as a company? We want to get to 3 million in revenue by March 24, as well as profitability. So we are operating at about 2 crore monthly cash right now, but and like total expenses about 2 crore, and total income is right now 1.2 crore. So by the time we hit 3 million in March 24, we'll be roughly break even as a company. So that's what the immediate goal for us. And we are adding 200 to 250K every month. So just if we just follow what we are doing right now every month, which we have been doing for the last 4-5 months, we'll be able to hit 3 million in revenue, out of which 2.5 million will come from auto and 500,000 will come from e-commerce overall. So this slightly longer term goal, where we want to, right now we have a velocity of 30 to 40 dealers a month, which will annually translate to about 500 dealers, right? So by the time March 24, we will be at 350 dealers and 3 million in revenue. We want to, with the after Series B, we actually are working towards increasing the velocity of dealer addition every month. So at 80 dealers a month, we will probably end March 24 5 at about 13 to 1500 dealers on our platform, which realistically translates to about 10 million in revenue. Right. So we have broken down how will we increasing our revenue month on month or year on year, right? So similarly at 120. So the goal is in the next 3-4 years, can we get to 5,000 odd dealers? that will practically give us a very fair shot to hit about 30 to 50 million in ARR. Right? So that's what we are right now gunning for. And this is all about only US dealerships. So we are not even talking about Europe and other categories, which are again massive for us. So this is like just in a nutshell. We also picked up other categories where some of the large accounts are using us as default. So Swiggy, we are the default photo shoot. Myntra, we are now taking up 35 to 40% of their volumes. Ajio, we are roughly 50% of their catalog we are serving right now. Walmart is integrating us. So we are in the middle of API integration with Walmart right now for their global use cases. So yeah, that is it, Amit. I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks, Sanjay.
Just stop sharing my screen now.
That was quick fire, rapid,
Yeah.
and needed some absorption time. But and how much time do we have, Avish?
Yeah, we still have half an hour, more than
Oh, we do
half
have
an hour.
half an hour. Yeah. So again, Sanjay, I would start with, and whenever I talk to any startup, for me the most important thing is the founder's commitment and founder's understanding and the tangibility of touch and feel. So I would want to understand Sanjay as a person more than this business. Who is Sanjay as a person that can be my friend, and why does he believe that Spyne is the right thing to change the way this world operates?
Yeah, I mean, uh,
So less of Spyne and more of Sanjay.
yeah, thank you, Amit. So, uh, I'm someone who goes very, very deep into anything that I typically pick up, right? So this merchandising was one of the and one of the problems. Like if you solve hard problems, you build like a big businesses. So that is like the core mantra that let's go after the problem statements which are typically very longer life cycle to solve. But once they are solved, it is very hard to replicate, right? So. Probably that is one of the fundamental principles in which I have operated. Always gone after like longer. Uh, I stay put for on things for longer. Like so, 4 5 years we have pivoted the company almost like twice in getting to this particular journey, right? So, but, I mean, many people would have probably been given up, but we continued this journey, and here we actually attracted some of the top global investors as well. So this is like one of the core characteristics that I see has been a defining trademark, and we are also looking at that. I mean, I'm building this company for the next 20 years, right? So automotive industry in the US and Europe is so vast that right now we are just starting with marketing and merchandising, right? There is supply, payment, finance, sales, servicing, all of these software stacks that we can attack going forward in future, right? So that's what, like, going deep and solving and building for future and building for long. That the core principle that we operate with, and
Got it. That's helpful, Sanjay. Uh, I think while we are going deep, the mantra these days is to do one thing and do that one thing well. And when I hear you, I hear a bit of e-commerce, I hear things outside the US,
yeah,
I hear building for the ecosystem.
yes,
So I want to clear it in my head and in everybody's thought process
yeah.
as to what does going deep really mean for Spine.
Right, right. So see, when we started our journey 3 years back, we were building merchandising and photo processing as a core problems, right? And we picked it up as a vertical agnostic kind of a problem statement where we are solving it for every single industry, right? Gradually, we realized that solving for every industry will probably be at if you talk about like 1 to 100 level depth, then we will be able to get into 30 level depth in all of these categories, right? Which will not be very, very, I mean, life changing for these internet merchants who we are looking to serve, right? So there are so many apps, free apps available on the internet that you can use, but these apps are not used by car dealers or very, very serious professionals, right? Because they expect the quality of very high end photographer, right? So this is where we started zeroing upon ki, hey, can we crack one segment like no one in the globe can basically tackle, right? So, and we zeroed upon that automotive is one of the sectors which is pretty big in pretty I mean very, very deep in terms of like market penetration, and gives us a longish horizon to operate in as well. Right. So we discussed, and that's why like 85-90% of our business is concentrated on auto, because of legacy reasons we already have this e-commerce and food operating right now. uh, but we'll see how to, because this business is also scaling. There's a different business leader which is scaling the e-commerce business right now, and we feel that this is a distraction, and we'll do something about it. But right now we are operating two P&Ls in the company, and both P&Ls are equally getting to profitability right now in the company. Maybe in few months down the line, few quarters down the line, we'll take a call that how to scale, or whether to scale that e-commerce or food business at all or not. Right. But auto is the clear direction. Auto in the US and Europe, you said, right, different geography. It doesn't matter for us, because once you crack auto as a segment, one car as a segment, it is replicable across the globe. Right. So US, Europe, I believe that both are very similar markets to do the GTMs, and and the kind of GTM that we are doing, which is like inside sales from here, India. Even now, out of $200,000 that we are closing every month, 2 to 250K, roughly two-third, one-third split is between US and outside US. Because inbound we can't control, right? It can come from
Got
anywhere.
it. No, that's helpful. And an inbound generating significant part of the business in itself is very healthy for the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second is a more philosophical, or the next one is a more philosophical question. Sanjay, you started when there was no generative AI and no chat GPT and no Bing AI allowing us to manipulate images by ourselves. As generative AI becomes cheaper
Yeah.
and more democratized,
Yeah.
what is going to be your competitive moat? Is it going, and there are multiple things there in the value chain that you serve, but would
Yeah.
love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so we are not a generative AI only company. This is like the first thing that we are building right now, right? So, and also if you see chat GPTs and other stability and these kind of companies, they are solving layers in a generic fashion, right? So if it is solving chat or if it is solving images, these technologies are built in a very generic fashion. But there'll be companies which will be going extreme. So I would see it in a way where a company like ChatGPT or Stable Diffusion or let's say Midjourney will solve a problem in a 1 to 20 depth, right? But to really justify the money that the car dealers would spend on a cataloging product, you need to solve it at 90 percent of depth, right? 90-95% of the depth, right? So there'll be companies which will be very vertical focused and solve only for automotive. There won't be like Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, all of these companies solving for automotive dealership, right? So because this is too niche. But this too niche also gives us a huge opportunity for building a really sizable company, which Cox and the other companies have done. So really, if you see, in future, we can see a company like Cox or Impel be coming as a true competitor for us in this particular space. But given their size and the way like companies usually are not very fast in changing their DNAs, right? So it is the startups that disrupt them, right? So Cox, which is operating for 60-80 years, so they might not be able to innovate the way we will be doing in this particular space, right? So that gives us an advantage competing to these companies. For new companies building in the space, we have already taken like 3-4 years of head start, right? So we have solved behind the scenes some 30 to 35 different computer vision models, which are specific to cars, like tire reflection generation, inside view of the car generation. So the Audi seat will look different than Honda City's seat, right? So the see-through of the glass, because once you shot the car within a tree, it will not look like it was shot in a studio when you transform it, right? So behind the scenes, we have created with custom 35 to 36 models, which are built for the automotive. Discovery of these problems also is like a big pain. Someone will have to
Sure.
invest
Sure.
that those many months, quarters, years to understand what is to be solved.
Understood.
Yeah.
That's helpful, Sanjay, and give us a deeper sense of how you see the outbound channel developing, because right now it seems majority of what's happening is basis the inbound channel.
Yeah.
Over a period of time, the outbound would need to be unlocked optimally.
Yes, right. So the if you see the market in the US, So I'll start from the market in the US or in Europe in general, right? So there are roughly 72,000 dealerships that we have listed in our platform right now. We have extracted all the data from marketplace and various channels, and we have named all these 72,000 dealers by states, by cities in the US, right? If you just slice the dealerships persona in the US, there are two types of dealerships in the US that operate. One is OEMs basically give authority to some dealers to sell their new cars. These are called franchise dealers, right? So there are roughly 15 to 16 franchise dealers in the US who can sell new cars from these OEMs, or Audi, BMWs, and all, right? And because used cars are two-third or three-fourths of the volumes of the new cars in the US, so most of these franchise dealers also have two-third, one-third split of used and new cars on their dealerships, right? So these are 17,000 dealerships which are typically corporatish, right? 100 to 300 cars they would do every month. So that's the kind of persona we are seeing. Then we have roughly 55 to 60,000 dealers, which are called independent dealers in the US, which are which do not have authority to sell new cars, but me and you can probably set up a used car space where we can start selling like 20 to 50 used cars by acquiring cars from the auction houses or the local network, right? So there are roughly 55 to 60,000 such dealers available in the US, right? So what we have managed to do from India is we are able to crack the smaller dealers from India, from outbound and inbound, both the processes, right? So typically 100 to 300 dealers persona, we are able to crack from India. And we are closing about 30 odd deals every month right now. Two-third of it coming from inbound and roughly one-third coming from outbound as well. So we do have all these data available. We do like LinkedIn email sequencing, reach outs, and then based on the engagement, we do the cold call. I mean, slightly warmed version of the cold call, right? And then we set up the demos and bring them to the conversion, right? So that's the channel that we have built. One of the gray areas or the weak areas that we want to build upon is how do we close the larger enterprise deals in the US? So that is one of the areas where we are still not that very strong. And probably after Series B investment, we'll set up like a few folks from, let's say, Cox or Impel will hire enterprise folks who will talk with like Penske's or Bergstrom or these kind of like extremely huge dealership groups and talk with their like VPs or CXOs to get the deals moving. So this is
Got
one
it.
of the
Got
areas
it.
that is not working from India for us right
Right.
now.
I think in our audience also we have somebody from Cox who might be able to help you. But Avish, there are a few questions in the chat. I am unfortunately not able to keep track. Can you help me there?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe you can read those out, or
Just
there are a
highlight.
few.
Yeah. So I think one question was around how the market is currently fragmented, and how would Spyne capture the largest market share? I think you've partially addressed that, but yeah, if you have any more points to add on that specifically.
The market is fragmented, you are right. And there are like top three, four companies which have significantly captured this space. Like, of course, Cox, CDK Global, Renault, there are like some of these companies which have billion plus in revenues, right? So these companies have anyways between 10,000 to 40,000 dealers on their network using various parts of softwares. We are actually solving their merchandising stack, where one of the two key competitors that exist for us is one is Impel, which work with about 7 to 8,000 dealers in the US. And they are operating at about 70, 75 million in ARR, raised about 110 million few months back, early January. And their products, so we are winning against them because we have much superior product in terms of quality, right? So, but they are like much better than us in sales because of their US presence and 8 years in operating in the US. We are just building up right now. So this is like the first competitor which have aggregated already 7, 8,000 dealers on their network, right? And the second company which is emerging in this particular space, but a European company with the name Miro, which was a large marketplace traditionally, photography marketplace, raised about 230, 40 million odd dollars 4, 5 years back. But very recently they pivoted to what we have been doing, and just an automated version of the application that will serve e-commerce, automotive, and real estate, three spaces. And but because of the European base, slow moving, non-service oriented culture, right? So we are able to crack some of the deals from them as well, right? So these two are the closest competitors that we have. Other than these two, Cox and the other companies also have their merchandising stack, right? So, but their product is I mean, 10 years behind compared to where we are right now. Uh, so these three form of competitions exist, and the fourth form of competition is small agencies which provide either the photographers or the editing services to these dealers right now, right? And they work with anything between like 200 to 2000 dealers in the US, right? So we are, and these kind of like agencies are essentially becoming our partners. In fact, Impel also reached out to us. Impel's like the core network, the founders team, also are very close friends. So they also reached out to us. Can we use your technology and distribute it under our brand? So our investors, Axel, basically was not keen on it, and they said, "Ki, hey, you need to build your own distribution network," because I mean, of course, bigger companies, so their strategy would be to understand us in depth and then eventually build something, because we are operating in the same space. So, but yeah, this is how the market is looking for us right now, and we just need to focus on one thing: can we increase the dealers onboarding velocity? Right now, we are operating at 30. Can we first get to 50, and then can we get to 100? If you get to 100, 3 years, we are doing about 4,000 dealers, which is 30 to 40 million in ARR. Right? So that's the core metric that we want to chase right now. Increase the dealer onboarding velocity.
Got it. And if I understand correctly from your pitch earlier, is that you've raised both inbound and outbound marketing efforts to onboard that. And for the larger dealerships, you'll probably go after Series B and just focus a separate, more sort of offline sales method to onboard them, right?
Yeah, yeah. More relationship driven sales we'll do after we raise our Series B. People stationed in the US. Though we hired few people in the US, but we deployed them for mid-market deals only, which didn't work out for us, because those deals, the cost was pretty high, and the ROI was much better when these were closed from India. So we are building it from India. We'll build probably in the US from enterprise sales network only. Yeah.
Because that's recently become a huge point in made in India SaaS about not being able to go beyond 10 million ARR in the US, not being able to sell to large US companies.
Yes, yes. So see, that also becomes like a factor of two things. One is market. If there is like huge market, like horizontal CRM kind of a market, then you also have hundreds of competitions playing into that particular market, right? And if there is a niche market, is that niche market like big enough, right? So we I mean, coincidentally or whatever we say, we figured out that this niche market is extremely large in the US, right? And there are companies which have built like massive businesses in the US. So that gives us a playing ground for next 20 years to build like products in the automotive space. So that's the vision. Like we'll be set the investors. I mean, one of the directions from the investors is also, can we disrupt Cox over the time, over the next like 10, 20 years. Takeon is looking to do that, but we'll also be trying to go into that direction, but starting from marketing and merchandising space.
All right. So Vardhan has been asking questions in the chat. He's raised his hand. So maybe I'll just give him the floor for a couple of minutes and he can ask the question that he might have himself.
Sure. You're done.
So I was researching through Spyne's website, and what I understand is driving your inbound engine is that you have listed a lot of your competitors, brands like Motor, Cut, and I forgot another. So, like based on that itself, there are like I think 10 to 12 direct competition you have. So Motor Cut has cost like $6 per car, which is almost half of what Spyne has. So ideally, even within that niche market, competition is huge. It's not just likes of Cox and Impel, but a lot of smaller players too.
Yeah, yeah. No, in terms of cost, the product that they are selling, which is a photo product, that also is priced for us as about $4 to $6 only. Right. So in terms of pricing, we are not that far in the industry. Multiple product lines that we sell basically increases the cost of this particular product. Right. So that way, and also some of these companies, uh, I mean, small companies, as I said, are many which are operating in this particular space. in Europe itself, there will be like 3, 4 companies which are operating in 2 to 3 million space. But it will also be a function of which company can build the real deeper GTM muscle, right, over the time, right? So none of these companies are VC backed. If you see, only Impel and the second company, which is Miro, are backed by VCs. So we are backed by one of the top global VCs. That gives us a longish play to operate in this particular market, right? So in the next round, we'll be probably be raising 15 to 25 million. That will help us build much stronger GTM engines compared to where we are right now. So yeah, I mean, every segment where there is a need, you will find companies. So and there will be companies which will be so we have companies like Glow 3D, which is the competitor. They are operating at about 1,000 odd dealers right now, completely bootstrapped, non-funded, right? So there'll be companies which will be operating between 500 to 2,000 dealers space as well. 70,000 dealers, right? Only in the US, 70, 80,000 in Europe. So 150 odd thousand dealers looking for such service. So there's a massive play. There will be companies which will be operating at 7, 8,000 dealers, operating at 10, 15,000 dealers. Many companies operating at about 500 to 1,000 odd dealers, right? 200 to 500 dealers. So the market will be fragmented. But yeah, like other markets, we'll also be trying to build a real edge with product and GTM depth.
Got it.
Goal is to get to like maybe top 1 or 2 players in this particular industry, right? So
Thanks, Sanjay. And I think one more question was around moat. So are there, I think you've sort of talked about it a little bit, but are there any patents involved that might be give a moat here, or is there a significant switching cost for the rest of us uninitiated folks to understand?
yeah. So switching cost is pretty high because once you integrate with those partner platforms, it becomes like a month-long effort to switch you unless you are really screwing it up, right? And the quality is the other part where we have trained our models for roughly like 20 million plus images, which are custom annotated in house over the last 3, 4 years across 30, 40 different problems, right? So that kind of depth does not exist in the market yet, right? So these two, uh, plus of course, like the bigger the company becomes, the bigger the network moat it takes, right? So these we are also taking a strategy where we are going DMS first. We are working with some of the aggregators and getting ourselves integrated with them. Like we are closing a deal with uh, one of the top 10 DMSs in the US called Dealer Specialty, where they are looking to expose us to some 4,000 dealers on their platform, right? So we are starting with 10K kind of ACV, 10K kind of MRR, but the goal is to get to about 40, 500,000 kind of an account building with them, right? So that's the kind of partnership we are also going to, with like very deep. And once you crack such kind of deals, it becomes like very hard to just switch. Unless the product is really someone comes up with like 10x better product at half of the cost, which usually will not be the case.
Fair. And there's another question about drone photography, drone imaging for in general. Is that since you've mentioned that you're particularly focusing on used car dealerships for the foreseeable future, do you see drone imaging as a trend that comes in there? Is that something you would have to incorporate or specifically focus on?
Yeah. So I'll touch upon this patent part first. I
Sure.
did address that part. So we actually have created very native models in our company, which are basically every model is the extension of the existing model that you see or the existing paper that you see, right? So we have created our own custom models, but we intentionally didn't go after filing the patents because this is not defensible. Tech patents are not defensible, and second is like takes too much of time and doesn't add any value neither to the investments or to the customers, right? So we'll probably do when we have like sufficient time to file all these patents and do like these kind of work. But right now, this is not a priority for us. Just go after the accounts, build as many accounts as possible, and build the real mode in business. This is one. Second is drone photography. We actually picked up this concept over 2 years back. So we actually experimented by centering the drone coordinates at the center of the car, top of the car, and automatically rotating. So we actually wanted try different avenues to solve this studio photography, right? Because if you move around the car and shoot a video, you will have a jerky looking 360 created, because people will be like moving in this way, going up and down and tilting of the phone angles, right? So drone actually gives you a lot of control in controlling like these kind of shots. We did that particular experiment with one or two customers, but eventually realized there's too much of operational complexity. Someone has to be trained on how to operate that drone, or you need to send someone. So we actually wanted to build a very easy to use application where tech does most of the work behind the scenes. And with the advent of Nerf and now Gaussian splat and all these things, we are able to generate a very smooth looking 360, even if your inputs are slightly jerky.
Got it. Thanks, Sanjay. In the meantime, Amit, do you have any more questions to us specific?
No, I think it would be good to get a sense of how do you see the Series B panning out, and where are we, and what's the current thought process in the current conversation? How are you looking at it? So I would love to sort of get a deeper sense on that part.
Yeah, Amit. So, Amit, so as we showed in our presentation, we are right now operating at about 1.8 million in ARR, and we actually have some target milestone before we go to our Series B, right? So in 2021 days, it was like 3 million or 2.5 million when we wanted to do our Series B, but things have changed now, right? So the market is much more real, practical, and absolutely it should be like this how the market is right now, right? So. Right now, the milestone that we have kept is, can we get to profitability? I mean, break even profitability or near zero, near uh, uh, zero burn, which is like roughly less than 20 lakh, plus minus 20 lakh kind of a burn is kind of okay, which is 3.5 million milestone in the company, because the cost is not increasing. It might increase by 10%, but the revenue will rise by 2x, 3x, right? So that is first milestone that we are chasing. And then we want to continue that particular growth to about 4 to 5 million in ARR, roughly 3 months more. And we get to 4 million, which is like June kind of time frame we are looking at when we'll go for a Series B investment. I mean, fully profitable, 4 million in revenue, growth of roughly like how much? 200K to 4 million, which is like 20x growth in last 2 years, which is like a amazing story for the investors, right? For Series B.
Got it. That's helpful. I think I'm good, Avish. This covers, in general, majority of what we had to discuss. Sanjay, do you want to share anything else?
No, I think I mean we talked about decks, we talk about these things. So uh, I don't know, unless we have questions, so I can take them on. But we talked about some of these things in very depth.
I think two
But
questions. Sorry, please go ahead.
yeah, so one of the advantages being a company from India is that we have a good access to research professionals here, right? So this is one, and we are also a, a geography which is very unlike US and Europe. So US is slightly better, but Europe is not something which is very uh, I mean fast and aggressive in terms of like business growth, right? So service is one of the areas where we are really seeing Miro, I mean, not doing the job properly, right? So where we are able to hit them pretty well. So we are seeing these two companies only emerging as a major threat, though Cox, I mean, pitched to our customers, and because of their proximity and relations, they are able to crack some of our customers who came on board with us. So these things we want to solve after Series B, when we set up our local customer success team there, roughly like 3 to 4 people there, 2 to 3 members in enterprise sales, and few in tech and product support. So after Series B, we want to station a team in the US of 10 to 12 members who will build a US first company. So in the next 3 4 years, we are looking to transition, though we are selling the US but based in India, we want to be transitioning to that particular model in the next few years, and truly like build against Impel, Cox, and these companies, Miro and all. Yeah.
Got it.
Got it.
That's helpful. Pleasure talking to you, Sanjay.
Yeah, maybe just the last couple of questions. I think you've already talked about them, but since people have asked, maybe, yeah, one was, are there any specific partnerships that you're looking at to increase sales? And another was the idea of the focus on large dealerships versus independent dealerships. I think you've addressed it, but if you could just summarize once again.
Yeah, so partnerships, of course. So the like four types of ecosystem players that exist in the industry. One is DMS, dealer management systems, which are roughly 50 to 100 such companies, extremely large to middle ones to DMSs capturing about 200 odd dealers, 200 to 1000 odd dealers, right? So these all are the companies that we want to target and we want to build like closer partnerships. Second is the ecosystem players which serve websites to the dealers, right? So there are some 100 odd companies with Cox Autos, Dealers Inspire, CDKs, Dealer On, and 3-4 companies capturing 60-70% of the market. But they are long tail as well. If we partner with them, they will be, I mean, we can do a joint GTM with them as well. And the third is these dealer lot service providers, which are essentially photography agencies that serve the dealers. And there are these dealer lots, roughly 15 to 20,000 of dealers actually use one or the other kind of photography service provider in the US. That's what we have researched so far. And we have mapped all those dealers as well. So these three are the ecosystem players that we want to eventually partner with. We have done like few partnerships, but more partnerships will help us go deeper and deeper in this market. And the second is larger dealership groups. So see, the strategy for cracking larger dealership is, I'll give you an example. There's a dealership group called Penske in the US, which does about 20 billion in revenue, annual revenue. Of course, they sell cars, so the revenue would be higher. So 20 billion worth of revenue they do every year, and they operate about 220 dealers across the US, right? Dealership units across the US. So the way to crack these dealerships is two. One is you go bottoms up, you crack maybe 5-6 dealership units by targeting their GMs and get your solution working with them. And then taking the reference of these 5-6, you basically talk with the the VPs of Penske. Ki, hey, your dealers are using the solution. This is much cost effective and very quality wise also very much superior product. Do you want to open it up with like 25% of your dealer segment? Right. So that's one of the approaches that we are taking because we are comfortable cracking smaller dealers right now. Right. So this is how we are going deeper into dealership groups. The second approach is you directly build relations with the the larger the key folks in these groups, right? So this is where we actually need to build some muscle, right? So enterprise kind of folks who already have pre-built relationships. So this is something that we want to pick up after maybe 5-6 months of getting, because these kind of people will come at slightly higher cost and we'll have to give them some runway to operate as well. These deals will not be cracked like in immediate horizon, right? It may take about like 3 to 6, 9 months as well. So that's the kind of money that you will need. Probably not at this stage we can afford, but probably after Series B we can park out maybe $1 million odd to go after enterprise deals as well, right? So this is how we will be looking at these two segments. Yeah.
I think that's a wrap. I think all the questions are done. Thanks a lot, Sanjay, for being so candid, and thanks, Amit, for taking out time.
Pleasure talking to you, Sanjay. Thanks, Avesh.
Thank you, Amit, for your time. And it was
Bye.
super glad talking with you. Yeah. And thanks, Avesh.
Hmm.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Cool.
For
So the recording will be, so the rest of the group will be sharing the recording in some time.
Sure.
And yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. See you soon. Bye.